Okay, I want to welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening for the Magnetic Resonance Imaging, MRI, information session. My name is Erin Ruggieri. I'm one of the marketing coordinators at BCIT. And our presentation tonight will feature Domenico Celli, our program head, and Zara Al-Otman, our program advisor. And before we get started, I'm just going to read our land acknowledgement. The British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam. Now, if everyone could please stay muted for the duration of the presentation, we will have a Q&A towards the end of the presentation, and we can welcome your questions at that point. If you have questions as we go along, feel free to just type them into the chat function, and again, we'll answer them in the Q&A, but please stay muted until that Q&A, and if we have time, then we'll allow people to unmute and ask their questions if they'd like to do it that way. So we're doing our welcome and introductions first, that's me, then presentation and program overview from our program head, Domenico. And program advising will then speak about the ins and outs of how to apply to BCIT and how to gain admission. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Domenico.
All right, so this is where I ask the question.
Yes, let's put up a poll question.
Yeah, so the poll question. So I'd like to ask everyone, first I should say welcome. Thanks for coming. And I hope I can answer all your questions for you. And so the poll question is, what does a patient have to wear when they get an MRI?
Okay, I'm going to end polling there, and I'll share the results on screen, and Domenico can tell us how many of us are right.
Okay, so we have 57% are right. The answer is earplugs. All patients have to wear hearing protection for MRI scans because they're very noisy, and sometimes if they get so loud they can even cause hearing damage. And so they have to wear earplugs. Now sometimes they can also wear headphones, or they can wear a combination of the two. But they all have to have some kind of hearing protection. All right, we can move forward. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about MRI. What is MRI? MRI is a relatively new technology in the medical imaging world. It became widely used clinically around the mid-1980s. And ever since then, it's grown tremendously, exponentially, so that now it's become a routine modality for all kinds of imaging, and it's taken over many procedures that were done with other imaging techniques in the past. The big advantage with MRI is that it has a lot of what we call contrast resolution, so we can see the different tissues in the body, even though they may be very similar, yet in MR we can see the differentiation even when it's very subtle. And the other big advantage with MRI is that there is no radiation involved. MRI uses magnetic fields and radio waves to create images. So when I say no radiation, I mean ionizing radiation, which is the harmful type of radiation. MRI does use radio waves, but they're not considered to be harmful. So patients can have MRI scans by the thousands, and it doesn't hurt them in any way. So they can continue and come back for follow-ups, etc. And it's also very safe for technologists because the technologists are not exposed to any potentially harmful radiation. So how does MRI work? It basically, what you see as an MRI scanner is actually a huge giant magnet, a big electromagnet. It's what's called a superconducting magnet, and it's extremely powerful. So what it does, it aligns the protons in your body. MRI basically images hydrogen protons in your body. So hydrogen protons in your body are aligned by the magnet, and then they're excited by radio waves. And then when the radio waves are turned off, they go back to their relaxed position. And when they do, they give off radio waves. And we use that information to produce an image. So what we have in MR, these things called coils, which are basically a type of an antenna. You can think of it like an antenna that picks up, like in your car, that picks up the radio. It's very similar to that. So it picks up the radio waves, and then it uses that information with computers, etc., to produce images in your body. So basically, that's how MRI works. Okay, next. Okay, so is MRI for you? If you're interested in advancing your career, MRI is a great way to go, because as it stands right now, MRI is what we call a second discipline program. So that means that you can't, as you are right now, apply directly into MRI. You have to be another type of imaging technologist first. So what I mean by that is you have to be a radiographer, an ultrasound technologist, nuclear medicine, or even a radiation therapy technologist. So once you're one of those, you can advance your career further and come back to BCIT and take MRI. So if you're interested in advancing your career and your job prospects, it's a great way to go. The other thing about MRI is that you have to be able to work independently and as part of a team. So what I mean by that is that you have to be able to make decisions on the fly on how to best proceed with a patient. You know, patients can produce many challenges, and you have to have a kind of an ability to make decisions on your own on the fly to decide how to best handle the patient, get the best diagnosis. And of course, you're working as part of the medical team, so you have to be able to interact with the other members of the team, such as nurses, physicians, respiratory therapists, etc. So in one part, you have to be able to independently make decisions, but in the other part, you have to know how to interact with other members of the team. And working under pressure is a really important attribute, because there can be situations where you're under a lot of pressure in MR when you're dealing with very sick patients. So you have to think clearly, even under pressure, and not let that stress affect your thinking and your ability to do your job. So if you have a diploma or degree in nuclear medicine, medical radiography, sonography, or radiation therapy, you can apply into our program. It's a postgraduate program. You also have to have a registration with one of the recognized professional associations in Canada. And two examples given here are the CMRT and Sonography Canada for ultrasound technologists. And you have to pass the MRI screening form. Because MRI uses very powerful magnets, there are certain conditions where you would not be able to be an MRI technologist. For example, if you have a pacemaker, if you have certain aneurysm clips in your brain, if you have some ocular implants, etc. So there are some things where it would be dangerous for you to be in a powerful magnetic environment, because the magnet can interact with the metal in your body and cause harm. So all our applicants have to fill out a screening form at which I review and make sure that you are safe to work as an MRI technologist. Now, having said that, we are also planning to have a full-time program. What do you call it again, Erin?
So full-time studies. So it's during the day, and it's full-time. It'll be in person, Domenico, parts of it?
Yeah, so we're going to have a regular full-time program, very much like in the model of radiography, let's say, or ultrasound, where you come to BCIT and in a class, and you don't have to be a technologist to apply for the program. So it would be just as if you're applying for any of the others. So you can apply for it, with the minimum requirements. Just as the same as if you look in the websites for MRI for ultrasound or radiography, you'll get an idea of what kind of prerequisites would be required. And so it'd be a 2-year diploma program and then you would be able to come out as an MRI technologist without having to be one of the other ones first, the way it is now. And this new program, we're hoping to start in January 2023. So the first applicants would be accepted in the spring of 2022. All right, next. So this is as it is right now. It is a part-time online program, which means that you do the courses at your own pace and you can continue working. The whole program is online and you never have to come to BCIT. And this is designed because our students are all already working technologists. We want to do it in a way that allows them to take this program and continue to work. So this is the way we've designed it. So you do all the courses online in your own time. And there are 6 courses that you have to do. And once they're done, then you have to do a 16-week clinical, and that is full time. So you have to take a break from your regular job to be able to do the 16-week clinical. And after that, I was able to write the certification exam and hopefully pass that, and you can work as an MRI technologist. Now, the great thing about our program is it also has a path toward a Bachelor of Health Sciences. So you can either just do the diploma program as a technologist, or you can continue on and do 7 more core courses. And this will give you a Bachelor of Health Science with MRI specialty. And the whole thing, the MRI diploma part takes generally about 2 years. And then if you continue on to the Bachelor of Health Sciences, probably about another 2 years. But it's really up to you. You kind of dictate the pace at which you do the programs. You know how many courses you want to take per term. And oh yeah, so also you can do the MRI program and work as an MRI technologist. But afterwards, you can come back at any time. Once you've got your MRI diploma or advanced certificate, then you can come back at any time and continue on, and you get your Bachelor of Health Sciences. Okay. Next. So career outlook is absolutely excellent. I can tell you right now that the government, the health department in BC is crying for MRI technologists. There's just zillions of jobs, and they're constantly bugging me to put through more technologists because the field is expanding so much. They've added so much more capacity by adding more scanners and by adding more time in the scanners that are already there in terms of how long it's open. So instead of just being open, say 5 days a week, now they're generally all open 7 days a week, and some are even running 24 hours a day. So there's a huge demand right now. So MRI is a great field to go on into, and it's constantly expanding, and I believe it will expand more and more in the future because it's really such an amazing technology, and it's so good at diagnosing almost any problem you can think of. You know, anything from a torn ligament in your finger to a tumor in your brain, we can diagnose. You know, so it's a huge high demand for MRI. So I think the prospects are excellent. All right. Next. All right, just some testimonials from our students and grads. So I think I know that most of our grads are very pleased with our program. Our program is huge. We always get more applicants per term than we can take. So we have to, sometimes move people forward to the next term. And our program goes throughout all of Canada. Right now, we're taking 18 students per term, and 12 of those are BC. We serve for BC because BC has such a high need for MRI technologists, and 6 we take from the rest of Canada. So right now, our program is the most It's the biggest and most popular program in all of Canada for MRI. So it's doing quite well. All right.
Thank you, Domenico. And I'm going to pass it over to Zara now, and she's going to talk about applying to the program and how the admissions and application process works.
Perfect. Thank you, Erin and Domenico. Welcome, everyone. And my name is Zara L. Ottman, and I'm a program advisor for full-time studies at BCIT. We also help with some of the part-time programs, such as this one. So we answer any questions regarding the admissions process. So you can direct any questions to us, even if you have any after today, and we'd be more than happy to help you. And next slide, please. So to go over the entrance requirements, so as Domenico has mentioned, this is a postgraduate program. One of the first requirements is English. So you need 2 years of education in an English-speaking country. If you don't have that, you can do an assessment to meet that requirement. There's also English Studies 12 or an equivalent at a minimum of 67%. You also have to have completed some post-secondary education. So again, you will need a program that you've completed in nuclear medicine, sonography, medical radiography, or radiation therapy. If you're wondering where to take these programs, we do offer all of these programs at BCIT. So I do recommend checking them out. You can find all of them under our programs and courses under the School of Health Sciences. And you also need to complete an MRI safety screening form, and you must have proof of registration with the CAMRT, which stands for Canadian Association of Medical Radiation Technologists, or Sonography Canada. And just so that everyone knows, entrance into this program is on a first qualified, first accepted basis. So we'll move on to the next slide, please. So we do have 3 intakes a year because, as we've mentioned, this program is offered through part-time studies. So there's ongoing intakes. That being said, the April 2021 term is full. And September 2021 is filling up. So in terms of when you may be starting, it's not guaranteed you'll be starting this September. It's first qualified, first accepted. And in addition to that, Domenico actually reviews all of the program, the applications, because he needs to go over the screening and make sure that everything's okay before you start the program. So we do recommend applying as soon as possible when you can, just to get in as soon as possible. Now, in terms of qualities to be successful in the program or the profession, so having excellent communication skills, so speaking, listening, reading, and writing, interest in analytical work, having that great attention to detail, being able to recognize small detail, being able to make decisions autonomously, and also being comfortable solving problems on your own, but also working well in a team and being able to communicate well with people. And next slide, please. So the application process is entirely online. So your first step will be to review the entrance requirements. You can actually find the entrance requirements online if you look up the MRI program, so the Bachelor of Science in magnetic resonance imaging option, and you click on the left-hand side, there will be entrance requirements. If you click on that, you'll find all of the entrance requirements listed there. Upgrade if necessary, complete any programs if you need to do that beforehand. Collect all of your documents, so all of your transcripts and additional supporting documents, and then convert everything to a PDF copy to be uploaded to your online application. You can apply at bcit.ca/apply. You can also find a link to applying at the top of the program page. It says apply now. If you click on that, it'll take you to the same application portal. And once you apply, admissions reviews if you meet the minimum requirements, and it moves on to Domenico as well, and he reviews your screening and everything to make sure everything is in check. And then application processing takes about 2 to 4 weeks after you apply, and we appreciate your patience. And Perfect, thank you. So if you become a student at BCIT, we've got some great resources. So we have our BCIT Student Life Office and BCIT Student Association that both apply the 8 dimensions model. And so the 8 dimensions are listed on the slide for you. They're basically areas that the BCIT Student Life and BCIT Student Association have identified that help students throughout their academic studies. And so they provide resources and supports in each area of this model. So some examples include, we have our financial aid and awards department. So if you have any questions about scholarships, bursaries, even student loans, you can connect with them. There's also BCIT Student Health Services. So there's a physical clinic located on the Burnaby campus. Right now they're doing phone and virtual appointments for students. There's also our recreation services department, and they're also doing virtual workouts and an eSport league as well. We've got our counseling and student development department, as well as our Indigenous services, and they can provide clarification on Indigenous funding. For more information, there is a link in the chat. So bcit.ca/student services. You can also just go to bcit.ca and click on student services, and it'll take you to the same page. Next slide, please. So if you have any questions after today, please feel free to connect with us at Program Advising. You can give us a call Monday to Friday as indicated, and you can also email us your inquiry or request a virtual Zoom appointment. You do this by emailing us at program_advising@bcit.ca. And for the most up-to-date information regarding our service hours, please check bcit.ca/advising for more information. And next slide, please. So I strongly encourage you to connect with us on our socials. So there's Facebook and Instagram. They both provide posts. There's some previous testimonials on there. There's some updates regarding the institution, and also any program specific information or videos. You can also check out our YouTube channel. So the BCIT School of Health Sciences has uploaded a video regarding the protocols that we've taken as a result of COVID-19 and some of the new technologies that our programs under the School of Health Sciences have implemented. So if you're interested, you can definitely check that out. And there's also previous information sessions on there, and there's some program specific information. So lots of great resources there for you. And right now we'll move on to the Q&A portion of our presentation, and I'll pass it over to Erin.
Thank you, Zara. And yes, I'm gonna open up the chat now, and I'm gonna, Zara might be typing some answers into the chat while we're going here, and I know Darren set a bunch of links in here, but I'm going to read some of these out because some of them might apply to a larger group. Now, if you do have very specific questions about your specific situation or your specific transcripts, you might want to contact Program Advising about that rather than asking that question here. Okay. Okay, let me just see. Are you able to complete the MRI program in less than 2 years? That's a good question from Annika. Domenico, does anyone complete it in less than 2 years?
No, well, it's not actually 2 years. It's just under 2 years. It's about 5 terms, which is just kind of under 2 years. So, but you can't do it any faster. I mean, you can. We do allow them occasionally, but it's better to do it in the progression that we recommend, because MRI is quite challenging. And you don't want to rush it, because if you do, then your chances of success go down quite a bit. So what we have a recommended progression. So in the first term, you do 1 course. In the next term, you do 2. In the next term, you do 2 more. And in the final term, you do 1 course, and then you do your clinical in the term after that, and you're done. Now, each term is 3 months, except for the clinical, which is 16 weeks. So it's about 4 months.
Great. Is this a national certification? So if you take the program in BC, can you work in Ontario?
Oh yes, if you take our program, once you're completed, you must write the CMRT certification exam, which is a national exam. And if you, assuming you pass that, then you are qualified to work anywhere in Canada. We're also, by the way, accredited by the American Association, the ART. So you can also write, you're also eligible to write the American certification exam if you pass our program and work anywhere in the US.
Great, thanks. And Annika also asked, how many intakes do you offer? I think we answered that in the presentation. There are 3 intakes per year.
Yeah, so there's 3 intakes per year and 18 per intake.
Yeah.
Right now. We just increased it actually. It was 14, now we increased to 18 because of the high demand for MRI technologists.
Adam has a good question. When the full-time option for MRI comes in 2023, will this part-time option still exist?
Yes, it will, because there's still a lot of demand for it from technologists out in the field who would like to do MR. So we don't want to shut them out. So it will still be available. And also we go across Canada, so we still want to make it available for all the technologists across Canada to do MRI if that's what they would like.
Annika has asked when the application opens. It is ongoing. So you can look at our program website and it'll tell you which intake you would be applying for, but it's ongoing. We're always accepting applications. Haley is asking, how is the 16-week clinical arranged? Are students able to request certain sites?
Okay, so if you live in BC, we will find a site for you. You can request a certain site, but we can't guarantee that you will get that site. We'll guarantee that you will get a site, but it may or may not be the one that you would prefer, because you can imagine, you know, there might be a site like Vancouver where we have 4 or 5 people that want it, and they can't all do it at the same time. So we kind of have to spread them out. So we will find you a site. You can let us know your preference, and hopefully we can get it for you, but we can't guarantee it. Now, if you live outside BC, you're responsible for finding your own site. We can help you, but in the end, you're the one that's responsible. We are affiliated with just about every clinical facility in Canada, so finding a site is not hard at all. But we leave that up to you outside BC. But we do have lots of contacts, so if you want help from us, we can help you find a site.
Awesome. Jaden is asking if there's any chance that this new program would be coming any sooner than 2023.
No.
Jaden, it does take us a fair amount of time to create these new programs, get approval, get accreditation. It's quite a lengthy process on our end.
It's a huge process, and
don't want to rush that.
We're just starting it.
And how many students are usually at each clinical site? I think that must vary, right, Domenico?
Yes, depending on how many scanners they have. If they have, say, 2 scanners, then we try to place 2 students on that site. If they have 1 scanner, then we place 1 student. Basically, 1 student per scanner at one time, because we don't want students to have to compete for time on the scanner. And 16 weeks is not a long time, so they need all the experience they can get.
Wonderful. Angeline is asking, are you able to complete the additional 7 courses for your Bachelor of Science while completing the MRI focus course? So you're able to do it at the same time? Or would that be too much?
In theory, that's possible, but I really strongly suggest that you shouldn't do that, because MRI is really, it's going to take up all your time. So while you're doing the MRI program, you shouldn't do anything else.
Okay. She says she's currently working part-time in CT. Now, do most of your students work part-time or full-time while they take the program?
Both. Some students work part-time, some full-time. So, you know, it's really up to them. As long as when they're doing the courses, they can continue to do their regular work in it, and they'll be fine. It won't interfere. But they'd have to take the 16 weeks off to do the clinical. And some students will take their vacation time and an LOA. Some students will just take an LOA. Some students actually even continue to work. So they may work, they do Monday to Friday at their clinical for MR, but work in X-ray on the weekends, you know. So but you have to free up that Monday to Friday, you know, from 8 to 4 for 16 weeks, basically.
Thank you. Okay, I don't know if there's any other questions I've missed here. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to type in the chat, or would anyone like to unmute themselves and ask a question? As Julie just mentioned in the chat, we are running info sessions for our various School of Health programs all week. So we have 3 more days of info sessions. We've got Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, a few more other programs having their sessions. So please do check those out if you think something else might be of interest to you as well. And if that's all the questions today, I will skip to the next slide here. We're going to show you important contact information. So program_advising at bcit.ca. And if you have questions related to the profession specifically or about your suitability to the profession, please do email Domenico at his address there. I saw one more question just came in. What kind of patients will I be treating? Like, what do they have and what do I have to treat? Like different body parts. I think I know the answer.
First of all, you don't treat anything. Doctors treat. You're a technologist. You take pictures, right? So you do imaging of pathology or suspected pathology, and for MRI that can be you name a condition. There's probably an MRI scan for it. And it can be anything from head to toe. So it's very good for head scans. So if you're looking for brain tumors, hemorrhages, Alzheimer's, aneurysms, AVMs, you name it, any orbital problems, any problems, tumors in the face, in the nose, in the neck, in the chest, you know. We do lots of pelvic scans, you know, especially for female pelvis, you know, like uterine fibroids, for instance, would be one example, you know. So there, we even scan pregnant women, you know, they're for certain conditions with the baby or with the mother, like for instance, placenta previa, placenta accretia, very common scans for MRI. Because MRI is safe in the sense that there's no radiation, we can scan babies in utero and it doesn't do them any harm. So.
Follow up to that question. Sajat is asking, can you perform this on animals too, or is it just for humans?
No, they do scan animals as well. There are MRI scanners that especially when there's private clinics, sometimes in the evening they will have a contract with someone to scan the animals, dogs, cats, etc. Yeah, I mean it's done for sure.
Massively expensive to get your cat an MRI, but yes, it can be done. Okay. Thank you all for your questions. And if you have more questions that we didn't get to, please do contact either Program Advising or Domenico. I know some of you had some fairly specific questions probably. So please do feel free to reach out. We are here to answer your questions and we would love to help out and direct in that way. Again, thank you all for joining us. As I think was mentioned in the chat at one point, we will be sending out an email probably Friday afternoon this week with a link to the recording for this session and also a copy of the PowerPoint slide deck that was used here. So you can have this information to look over again and review once more. But in the meantime, please email and please do check out our website for more information. Thanks.
What's the top rate for an MRI technologist?
The pay rate?
The pay rate,
yeah,
right now, yeah. Of course, it varies from whether it's in a hospital or in a clinic, and it can also vary from province to province. In BC right now, the top rate at the hospital is about $41 an hour for a standard MRI technologist.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you all. Hope to see you so soon.